started here.
It is the 27th of February, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos Purim. All right, Rabbi, you can share.
Okay, good. I'll be putting it on the screen in a moment. Yeah, okay, like Ru said, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst Yeshiva Tzamenafshi here in Shlaim Care of Zoom. This is our first year in the morning. We are now learning Megilas Esther. We are, if I'm not mistaken, in the third Pierke, and it'll be coming on your screen shortly. And we'll continue where we left off yesterday. Let's see here, Pierke Shlishi. Pierke Shlishi. Okay, right. Right, we're talking about now with the confrontation between Haman and Mordechai in the Shar HaMelech, right? And that's the basically the beginning of and the stage being set in Perek Gimel. Right. Okay. Good. We left off. Come on, let's start with Pasuk Dalet. Perek Gimel Pasuk Dalet. We'll do a little bit review, and we'll continue on. Let me put this on the screen now.
Should I go ahead and read?
Unless anyone else wants to read, it's up to the.
I just let Roy in.
Yeah, please, yeah, let him, please.
Okay, Vayehi ke Amram elav yom v'yom v'lo shema el alehem vayagidu le Haman lir'os hayamdu divrei Mordechai ki higid lahem asher hu Yehudi. So it was that he said Amram.
It was as they were saying the people in the Shar, the ministers in the Shar Melech, they were saying to Mordechai, "Hey, Mordechai, what's going on?"
Oh, right, because they were chiding him, right, okay. So they said to him each day,
right.
They questioned him each day about his not bowing down, and Velo Shema Alehem, he didn't listen to them, and they told Haman to see if the words of Mordechai would stand, because he told them that he was a Jew.
Right, so that fits in. Remember, we saw Rashi, other Meforshim say that since Haman had put a Avodah Zorah around his neck, and people were bowing down, so he would be bowing down to the Avodah Zorah when he bowed down to Haman. So Mordechai couldn't do that. That was the main reason why Mordechai would not bow down. Also, we had the secondary reason that Haman was a slave to Mordechai, so he can't bow down. A master can't bow down to a slave. So, and here the pasuk saying he's not doing this, he's not bowing down because he's a Yehudi. That fits into the primary reason, like Rashi mentioned. Okay.
I have a question about that. That whole story about Haman and Mordechai being generals. It doesn't seem to be in character for either of them to be a general. Haman was pretty low on the total pole. I think we understood that, until he was promoted, his promotion was considered to be miraculous because he wasn't that advanced a person. And Mordechai was the Gadol Hador. What's the Gadol Hador doing, being a general and leading an army? And what happened to learning Torah for Mordechai?
Well, don't forget, in terms of Haman. So usually a king, I would imagine, besides picking someone to be, he has to, first of all, he has to be capable. If you're sending, good morning, Roy.
Good morning, Rabbi Furst.
Good
Thank
to
you.
see you. If a king's gonna, if you're sending someone on a military mission, the first and most foremost thing is that you have to be qualified, right? No king is going to send soldiers and officers into battle if they're incompetent, unequipped and incapable of waging war. You want to go out to win. You want to go out to war to win the war, right? So that's obviously a prerequisite. So you have to say that they were both capable military leaders. And second of all, if you're going to pick, if I was a king, with everyone else being equal, right, I would send the people that that I like the least out to war. The people I like best, I want to keep next to me, right?
Right.
So Mordecai, being a Jew, probably wasn't the most liked person by Ahasuerus, number one. And then you have to understand how Haman would be picked because he wasn't so liked. So that I don't have a good answer for why Haman wouldn't be so well liked by Ahasuerus to send him out to war. But if there were generals, you have to trust Ahasuerus that he knew what he was doing. And look, obviously they won because they both were alive and well a couple of years later.
So you were going to say that Mordecai was conscripted against his will?
Yeah, for sure. He was, he was in Gullus. He wasn't a free man. Everyone belonged to the king. King tells you to go to war, you have to go to war. Tells you to be a general, you have to be a general. Wasn't that he decided to go to the military academy of Shushan and become an officer?
And it just occurred to me, what about his age? Was Haman also old? Mordecai was like in his 80s. Was Haman also in his 80s?
This I'm not sure. I don't know of any information about that.
Because we don't know how long ago it was that they were these generals, but
I think it's the second year of his reign. I think it said in the second year of his reign.
oh, of Ahasuerus' reign?
Right, and the Mishta was the third year, and
So
yeah.
So it seems like Mordecai was another argument against Mordecai being a general is he's too old. He's in his 80s.
All right, look again. If he was picked to be a general, he must have been qualified and fit.
Okay, I don't know. It seems hard to swallow.
Look, it's not history is not really the point here. It's that they want to explain how did Haman get to be a slave, right, of Mordecai?
Right. Okay, Viker.
Yeah.
Vayar Haman ki ein Mordecai ko rea umishtachave lo vayimale Haman chema vayivez. And when Haman saw that Mordecai was not bowing and prostrating to him, he was filled with with anger.
Now, now, why should he get so angry and upset about that?
Well, I mean, even if we forget about the relationship between them, he's being defied. Everybody's bowing down to him, like the king said, and this one guy is not bowing down. It's like a thorn in his side. But if we consider relationship, then he's being reminded that he's Mordecai's slave,
Right.
and that's probably really getting at his goat, so to speak.
Right. It's ruining his fun.
I've got here Ein Mordecai Beret. Mordecai did not bow down, even when Haman removed the idol from his clothing. Else said he didn't bow down.
Okay. So that would fit with the second reason. That he's still a slave, right? I mean, I don't know. Let's ask this question. Do you think Mordecai would do something specifically against the command of the king and specifically against Haman just to get Haman angry?
No, definitely not.
No, of course not. Of course not. He's if there was no voter Zorah and there was no Indian of the slave being the slave here, so okay, if he has to do it, he has to do it. That's what the king wants. So you're a good servant of the king. So Mordecai knows that more than anybody else. As long as there's no interference with the Torah and the wishes of the Kadosh Baruch Hu and the commandments of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So you do what the authorities want. Right? So there's no reason to believe that Mordecai was doing this specifically to incite the anger of Haman, especially if the king is favoring him and declaring that he should go ahead and do this, right?
Well, but it said somewhere that Mordecai kept pointing to his shoe to remind Haman that he's a slave. That would certainly seem to be incitement.
Well, no, that he's doing that to remind him why I'm not. I'm giving you a reason why I'm not bowing down to you. The reason is you're my slave, right?
But that's what was getting Haman so angry.
Right. Well, but what could he do, right? Mordecai was simply just pointing out, look, there's reasons why I'm doing this. I'm nothing personal against you, right? You're a very good slave. You've always been a good slave to me, and just now because the king is elevating you to a position of prominence doesn't mean that you're not my slave anymore.
But he doesn't have to rub his nose in it.
Well, no, well, no, that I don't think he was doing it for that reason. He was simply doing it. That was the reason why I'm showing you. This is the reason why I'm not bowing down to you. Don't think it's something personal. I'm telling you, I'm showing you now, right? Don't forget that there's a reason why I'm not bowing down to you. I think it's very reasonable, no? Roy, you agree with me?
Okay.
I know Lou wants to say that Mordecai was inciting Haman to get him angry. I don't think it would be out of character, especially Gadol B'Torah Talmid Chacham at Tzaddik, right? Tzaddik doesn't want to get anybody angry at him, and it certainly doesn't want to make anybody angry, right? So to get somebody angry.
Maybe Mordecai wants his fun.
I don't know. He preferred learning Torah. That's his fun.
Mm. Um,
All right. Anyway, we could take a look at this bottom balloon. You see the bottom balloon there? We mentioned something here from Pierke Avos here.
Rebbe Elazar, HaKofer,
Hakapar. Hakapar.
HaKafar, Omer, Hikna A,
Hakina.
Hakina, Viha Taiva, Viha Kavod, Motziin Es Ha-Adam Min Haolam. Rabbi Elazar Hakifa, that's his name?
Hakapar is his name, right?
Hakapar said jealousy and lust and honor remove a person from the world. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, you see that Haman's getting angry over here, right?
Right.
Haman's getting angry, and this is the beginning of it. Even though he seems to be right on the way up, right? He's really on the way down at this point. When he's getting angry, so he now, because of his, what could we call it? Tell me, what was the source of his anger? Right? What was the source? Anger is just a reaction. Anger is not in essence. See, these three things, you have kina type of a kavod. These are basic human motivations, right? And they're built into a person. Person, in order to exist, to survive in life, he needs to have kina type of a kavod. He has to channel them properly. If they're not channeled properly, then it's going to be motziin es adam min ha'olam. But if they're channeled properly, a person can use these things to progress and advance and to do things which are beneficial, right? A lot of things have been accomplished in the world because of these three things, and many things have been done good because of these things. But many things have been done bad because of these things because they're not balanced. So if you have Torah and you balance these things, kina type of a covered, you can use them positively and channel them properly to accomplish things which are beneficial. But if they're not going to be channeled properly and controlled, then it's only going to lead a person out of this world. So Haman and what is kas, right? Haman was angry here. Kas is only a reaction to when these three things are frustrated. When you frustrate any of these things, you frustrate a person's kina, right? Or you frustrate a person's taiva, or you frustrate a person's kavod, right? So the result is, there could be several different results, but one of the most common results is kas. So we see that Haman was in kas over here, was angry, right? So the question is, why was he angry? Right? It says not just simply Yamole Haman Chema. He was full of fury. Haman was full of fury, right? So what was the source of the fury that Haman was so full of?
According to my footnote, it was the realization that Mordechai was justified.
Okay, I mean, okay. Let's hold on to that for a moment. Yeah, Roy, you want to mention something?
Yeah, I was similar to what Lou just said. Yeah, you tend to get angry because you know that you're wrong, but you're not going to admit it, and you're really furious that you realize that you're wrong. You know, it's almost a natural progression to get angry for that reason. Especially if you're full of yourself, any infringement of that is going to bring on the anger.
Right. Here for a moment, we can just try and picture ourselves. I mean, here you have Haman. He's riding very high. The king is favoring him more than anybody in the whole of the kingdom, right? He's the most favorite person of the king in the kingdom, and he's now been told, the people have been told they have to bow down to him, and this is he's very impressed with himself, right? And here you have one person that's not bowing down to him. So if it's because of the Avodah Zorah, and you see he took off the Avodah Zorah, so the fact that Haman had the Avodah Zorah and he took off the Avodah Zorah was that proves to us that Haman was interested in the bowing down of people because of his covenant. He was willing to forego his Avodah Zorah, meaning, right? What shows the fact that he took off his Avodah Zorah? What's more important, Haman or the Avodah Zorah? Haman's covered, right? His own honor is more important to them than the honor of his the Avodah Zorah that he supposedly was worshiping. Does that?
Rabbi, some noises coming.
Blowing. Sounds like blowing or scraping.
Blowing, yeah.
Scraping along the microphone.
I don't know. There's no noise in here, but I don't know where the microphone is. Where do they put the microphone in these laptops?
It's probably on the above the keyboard.
Above the keyboard. Okay, well.
Are you rubbing anything on the surface of the laptop?
No, is it still making noise?
It stopped now, so let's not worry about it unless it happens again.
Anyway, if it happens again, let me know, and I'll see if I can correlate anything that might be happening in the environment here.
So you're basically saying that it was covered. He was desiring covered, and that's why he got so angry.
I would think so. I don't think it's Kina. He's not jealous of Mordecai over any particular thing. And Taiva, I don't think there's any particular Taiva involved here. But I think it would be an example of kavod, because especially if you take that other information that he, according to the fact that he had the Avodah Zorah around his neck, and he was willing to even forego the honor of his own idol for the sake of his own kavod, right? So I think that was his primary motivation here, and the frustration of that, meaning. Mordecai was not willing to give him the honor that he felt he was due, and not only that, not that he only felt he was due. It was a royal command, right? It was a royal command that you have to honor Haman, royal command. So, in spite of the fact that it was a royal command, Mordecai didn't obey.
Right.
Didn't obey, and that apparently was what caused Haman to be so absolutely angry and furious over here, I think, perhaps. And that's going to be the continuation, right? Let's go. And as I said, Motzi, and it's Motzi es Adam min Olam. This, even though Haman at this point is on the way up, but really, in terms of the truth of the matter, he's really on the way down now. He's starting this chaos, this fury that he was filled with, is the beginning of his own downfall. Right? If he didn't take it so seriously, right? If he didn't take it so seriously, he wouldn't have such a thing against Mordecai, and he wouldn't have such a thing against the. Because we see the Meforshim say it's not enough. Since in the previous pasuk it said Asher hu Yehudi. Since they mentioned he's a Yehudi, so Haman was not satisfied in just taking care of Mordecai, right? He wanted to make a trouble for all the Jews, because these are the Jews. Mordecai, according to the Hezbollah that he was wearing the Avodah Zorah, so since Mordecai was a Jew, and he wouldn't bow down to the Avodah Zorah because he's a Jew. So all the Jews are in this together, right?
Right.
And therefore, he said it's not enough just to take vengeance against Mordecai. You have to take vengeance, Chas v'sholom, on all the Jews, right?
Right.
So that's what started everything off. Okay, and then all the things led to the final demise of Haman. Okay, let's Agav. You should know that the Svarim bring down in terms of sometimes you look at things from a certain perspective of Gilguling. So the Svarim bring down that Mordechai was a Gilgul of Yaakov Avinu and Haman was a Gilgul of Esav, right? So the fact that Mordechai didn't bow down was like a tikkun for the times when he bowed down to Esav in Parshas V'yishlach. So we saw that Yaakov Avinu was bowing down to Esav. So here we see that there was a rectification of that. That here he's not bowing down. But from time to time we can mention those things too. Okay, let's see the next pasuk.
That's interesting because we read in the Pele Yoetz that reincarnation is a really bad thing. You don't want to be reincarnated. And I think when I was delving into the issue of not being buried, one of the big arguments was that if you're not buried, if you're cremated, then you're going to come back in a Gilgul.
Mhm.
So that seems to contradict the idea that Yaakov Avinu was reincarnated.
Yeah, well, there are different levels of reincarnation. It depends. They're different. Again, I know very little, if almost nothing about these things, but there are different components of the neshama, and certain things have to come back for certain purposes. So, but in any event, it's you do see that even great people have had. They say Rabbi Akiva was a Gilgul of Moshe Rabbeinu. Again, you have to understand what that means. But who's greater than Moshe Rabbeinu, right? But again, on this same matter, Moshe Rabbeinu never came into Eretz Israel. So some say the reason Moshe Rabbeinu was a Gilgul of Rabbi Akiva was a Gilgul Moshe Rabbeinu because the Moshe Rabbeinu never came into Eretz Israel. So for the Skus, they should be able to have an ability to come into Eretz Israel. So therefore he was made into a Gilgul. And they say the Ramchal. He said the Ramchal was a Gilgul of Rabbi Akiva because Rabbi Akiva never had a kavura, never had a burial, right? So therefore the Ramchal, he came to Eretz Israel. And he was here a very, very short time, extremely short time, and he died here in Eretz Israel, and he was buried in Eretz Israel. So, and if I'm not mistaken, he's the Rabbi Akiva, and supposedly the place of Rabbi Akiva's burial, and the Ramchal are very close there up in Tiberia. In any event, again, I know very little, if nothing, about Gilgulim, but sometimes it's interesting to see how certain things are happening, and you can understand that it's relevant to things that happened previously in previous personages.
It would be interesting to find out how many times Yaakov bowed down to Esau and how many times Mordechai did not bow down to Haman.
Right. I think it was 7 times. I'm not sure I think it was 7 times by Yaakov Avinu. I'm not sure.
So that's 7 times mentioned here. So with the case of Mordechai.
Where do you see 7 times with Mordechai?
Beg your pardon?
Where do you see 7 times with Mordechai?
I don't, but I said, is it how many times is it mentioned he didn't bow down?
Yes,
don't
that,
think
that will,
I don't think it's that many times. Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to keep track. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's continue.
Vayiven
We
Be'inav.
Viyuvez.
Oh, Vayivez Be'inav Lish Loach Yad B'Mordechai Levado Ki Higidu Lo Es Am Mardechai Vaya Vakesh Haman Le Hashmid Es Kol Hayudim Asher Bechol Malchus Achashverosh Am Mordechai. Okay, so it was not enough in his eyes to strike at Mordechai alone, because he had told him
It had been told to him.
it had been told to him Haman, the people of Mordechai, and so Haman desired to destroy all the Jews that were in all of the all of King Achashverosh's I'm not sure
Kingdom.
what
His kingdom.
his kingdom, because they were the people of Mordechai.
Right. So it was despicable that to Haman that he should just destroy Mordecai, because he learned that it was told to him that the Jewish people were the people of Mordecai, and therefore he sought to Has v'Sholem, do the worst to the Yehudim that were in all the kingdoms of the Ahasuerus, who were the of Mordecai. Let's see 1 second. Oh, yeah. So in the meantime, take a look at the first balloon there with Pierke Avos, right?
Hillel Omer, Omer, Va'al Tamar, Lechash Afban, Ashna Shema Lo Tifneh. So Hillel said, don't say, I don't know if this word is cut off. The chash afna.
Right. When he's free, don't say that when I'll be free, Eshna, I'll learn.
I'll learn. Perhaps I will. You won't be free.
Yeah, perhaps you won't have the opportunity to be free. Maybe if a person's going to say, well, when I'm free, I'll do my learning, right? So he's going to be perhaps in a situation where he won't have the time to learn. So he can't make his learning dependent upon his free time. He has to decide that he's going to make free time, right? He's going to be learning whether he has time for it or not, and then he'll be successful in his learning. If he says, well, when I'm free, when I have free time, I'll make a attempt to learn. So it's most likely that he's not going to have any free time to learn. That I mentioned this is a again, like I said, I don't know if it's a true story, but or it might be just a Marshall Haskell, that there used to be a fellow, a frum Jew, very frum, nice, very frum Jew, and he had a store. He had a store, some kind of a retail outlet, some kind. He sold whatever. I don't know what he sold, and the store is doing good business. Did a good business, Baruch Hashem. And okay, so he lived out his life, and it came time that he was passing on to the next world. So he had a son, and the son inherited the store. Son inherited the store. Okay, so son takes over the business, and after a while, he notices that the business is going down. Right, he's not getting the sales like his father used to get. So it's getting worse and worse. So finally went to the Rav. He went to the Rav, and he told the Rav, I don't understand. I'm doing everything exactly like the father did. I'm not changing anything. I'm not, all the products are the same. The quality is the same. Advertising is the same. And I don't know, the business is going down. I don't know what could be. So the Rav asked him, tell me what do you do when there's no customers in the store? So the son said, when no customers in the store, well, I go into the back, I do inventory, I do some of the accounting, I take care of the some other things, I stock some of the shelves, I keep myself busy. Right? So the Rav said, well, I see the difference between you and the father is as obvious. I'll tell you what's happening. He says, when your father, when he didn't have any customers coming to the store, so he would open up a Gemara, and he would start learning when the store was empty and there were no customers to tend to. So you're busy with the business when there are no customers to tend to. So what happened? When your father was busy learning Gemara, so the Yetzer Hara had only one option to try and stop your father from learning, to send in customers. Right? When the customers would come in, the Gemara would close. Right? But you're not opening the Gemara, you're not doing any learning when there are no customers, so there's no reason to send you customers. So that's why the sales are going down. So that's an illustration of what this Mishnah Avos is talking about. That don't say that when I'm going to be when I'll free, that's when I'll learn. No, you have to decide I'm going to learn, right? And then you'll have more time free to learn because you decide you're going to learn. But if you decide when it's free time to learn, then you may turn out that there'll never be free time to learn. So how does this really fit into the pasuk here? That because of the anger, right? We just learned in the previous pasuk, the anger was the motivating force for Haman to act, right, immediately, right? He who was Bikesh, meaning he was seeking now to do the worst. Why was he seeking to do the worst? Because of his anger. So if you use anger as a motivating force, you can use it for destructive things, or you can do it for positive things, right? So sometimes when a person wants to motivate himself, sometimes it's very hard to imagine, how am I going to be able to learn? I don't have enough time to learn, right? So if he has a certain inspiration to do it, right, so he immediately has to try and make use of the moment of inspiration to try and allow him the ability to learn, which is really what he's supposed to do. So if you see such a thing by Haman was not simply, he didn't simply remain angry. The anger was a motivating factor to him doing something. And so that's the way to accomplish things in life. But you can do it negatively, like Haman did, or you can do it positively. You can do it for positive things too. So if a person feels he has an inspiration of some kind or another, he should use that inspiration, right, to to succeed. There's also, I'm not sure if you heard this, there's This is a Maisa. I'm not sure who it was. It was one of the Gedoli Hador, of the recent generation or so. And there was a certain Suda. There was a certain Suda. He was a Bacher. He was a Bacher, and there was a certain Suda. I'm not sure what kind of a Suda it was, a Chasana or something like that. Chasana. And so he wasn't a very successful Bacher. He wasn't very successful in learning. He was mediocre, maybe even less than mediocre. And something happened to him in the middle of the Suda that made him embarrassed in some way because of his lack of Torah knowledge, right? So he immediately got up from the Suda and ran off. He ran off and ran into the forests, and he
Yeah,
far and deep into the forest, and
I'm listening.
was crying
My
and
head is down.
cried and cried and cried.
I'm still listening to Rabbi Furst's story.
So he finally, there in his misery,
Okay, good morning.
started crying out to Kadosh Baruch Hu that he wants to become, he wants to be Gadol B'Torah. He wants to become a Gadol B'Torah. At that point, he made up his mind. He wants to become a Gadol B'Torah. He doesn't want to be mediocre in learning. He wants to be outstanding in learning. And he cried and cried and cried and he prayed. And lo and behold, Kadosh Baruch Hu heard his prayers. And the end of the story was he became one of the Gedolei Hador. So they asked him, I think it was later on, many years later, he says, well, look, you ran out of the Suda, you're in the middle of the Suda, what about Birkas Hamazon? What happened to Birkas Hamazon? You were over in Avera, you didn't say Birkas Hamazon, right? You're supposed to say Birkas Hamazon. So he admitted, yes, it was true, right? But had he not used that moment of inspiration at that time, right? Who knows what could have happened if he didn't use that moment of inspiration? The fact that he was embarrassed and felt so bad about his lack of progress and expertise in Torah, right? That motivated him to go out and to run away and to cry and to plead to Kadosh Baruch Hu to help him. And if he didn't use that moment of inspiration at that particular time, who knows what he would have wound up being? He would still maybe mediocre. Maybe he would have benched. Yeah, he would have benched, but he might have remained mediocre for the rest of his life. But he used that moment of inspiration to help him and to cry out to Kadosh Baruch Hu to be successful, and then that's what happened. Okay. In any event, it's almost 10 to 10. So good. Let's take a break here. We're at Pasuk Zion. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Roy, have a good afternoon. Mr. Shem, hope to see you tomorrow. Okay,
Okay,
we'll
thank
start
you.
momentarily now, and we'll continue on in a few minutes with the Shir and Mishnah Brewer Hilchos Purim coming up in a few minutes.
Thank you, Rabbi Furst. See you guys later. Bye.
Okay,
Okay.
take care.
Have a good one.